the questions that have sort of come from the fallout of FTX have now been put onto Tether, though, frankly, there have been questions about Tether for some time. I want to just read you two sentences. This is from the Wall Street Journal. You've seen the story. Tether, which is incorporated, as you know, in the British Virgin Islands, doesn't publish audited financial statements or complete balance sheet, leaving outsiders with an incomplete picture of the company's health. And there's a gentleman, Peter Crane. Peter is the president of Crane Data. He says, I've been skeptical and in disbelief that they, that is you, can get away with the lack of disclosure and with limited transparency. If you do have reserves, why don't you show them? And so I'll ask you the question, why don't you?
Well, what I can say is in the last 8 years of Tether's operating history, they've always redeemed every token for exactly $1. I sold the company in the end of 2015, and the principals have continued to operate that with, in my opinion, to the absolute best of their ability and with the best risk mitigation tactics in the industry. It has withstood the test of time.
So why do you think that then the questions persist as they do about what's really going on and what really is backing these stablecoins?
Well, Tether does offer on its website proof of its reserves, or actually audits. Every few months they post different audits on where all that cash is currently how it's being invested. Right now, people still question it, and these questions are okay. And the industry as a whole is going to become more and more transparent due to these recent failures of FTX and BlockFi and these other companies. And so that is really good for the industry moving forward.
So you think actually stablecoin, or rather I should say Tether, will ultimately be forced to disclose exactly what backs these coins?
Well, we'll see how these regulations play out. Right now, with the Republicans controlling the House, it's going to take a while for any regulations to really come to bear. However, our industry has done an excellent job in self-policing. More and more people are putting more awareness around how to do that. CZ from Binance is actually starting a fund and also really leading the charge in what it looks like to offer up proof of reserves and other programs to make customers and retail investors more comfortable.
I want to go back to the idea you just said you think the industry is great at self-policing. We've had a whole number of failures, even in the last 2 weeks, and obviously the blow up of FTX is the big headline. You think that the industry's done a great job of self-policing? I mean, I think about all the venture capitalists big name venture capitalists who put money in. I don't think they did any real self-policing. Arguably, you're right. CZ might have policed this a little bit. Frankly, I think the press did a pretty good job in the context of CoinDesk, which was the one that broke that story.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent point. The crypto industry doesn't have a government or anyone else to bail it out. So in order for it to survive long term, it does need to do an excellent job of self-policing. And that's what these things bring to the table. That we're going to, as an industry, have to come together and do a better job to provide consumers the confidence that they need. And to do that in the future, it will lead to more decentralization, meaning less trust in these centralized actors that are running these companies, because it's going to be done in code versus by the responsibility of a centralized organization.
So do you think long-term these exchanges, and I'm thinking obviously FTX was one of them, Binance is another, Coinbase is obviously a publicly traded company here in the United States, and as a result, I think is probably the most regulated of that group.
Yeah, absolutely. I do believe that's why Coinbase and the companies that are regulated in the US, they have to meet a higher bar. They have to do much more than these other offshore companies. So as investors, especially in the US, if that makes you more comfortable, absolutely follow the companies that follow that are more regulated.
John, I'm going to start with you because I know you have been very critical about just the Wild West, as you have described it in the crypto space. It's worth mentioning the numbers again here. I mean, we're talking about a $32 billion valuation earlier this year. They're now trying to cover a shortfall of $8 billion. How much of what's playing out right now is FTX specific? How much of this is a red flag for the space overall?
How can you even know? You call it the Wild West. That's really an understatement, Akiko. It's Walking Dead like anarchy. There's no regulatory oversight, no consumer protections, no licensure, no insurance, no net capital, no transparency, no sunlight. We have no idea what's going on inside of these entities. And if SBF is actually using Alameda, which all of the allegations seem to be leading to, as his personal piggy bank for whatever he wants to use it for, this is very serious, because you're not just talking about SEC violations. Right now, the Department of Justice is getting together. I was just at the FBI on Friday in a big meeting just relating to some general concerns about cyber and crypto. And these people are all mobilizing right now. Search warrants, arrests, all of those things are going to happen very quickly. The whistleblowers are mobilizing. The informants are mobilizing because they're seeking immunity. This is worse than Theranos. This is worse than Madoff, if what I'm reading is true. That's my opinion. Worse than Madoff? Yes, absolutely. Because in this case, you're dealing with all sorts of investors, all sorts of, look at these financial entities who have had to write down their entire investments. These are supposed to be some of the most sophisticated people around who conducted due diligence on these things. But due diligence in the world of crypto, it's like proving what a poltergeist is wearing. These kinds of things, you can't figure them out. Look at some of these companies, you don't even know where they're headquartered. You don't even know who works there. There's absolutely no transparency. And the contagion is quickly, rapidly spreading amongst all of the various crypto ecosystem. And that's a serious, serious problem for anybody who's doing anything with crypto. I'm sure the SEC will be sending teams of examiners to all of these regulated entities to find out exactly what their exposure is, if there is any. And the enforcement division is probably standing down while the DOJ is doing their criminal investigation, which might involve informants and search warrants and arrests. And the SEC can't really interfere with that. And they don't want to get situations where you're taking testimony by two different governmental entities.
Neil, you're a former insider at the SEC, and I'd be curious to get your take on the impact here to customers. We've got this banner here on the screen. Obviously, the SEC, the CFTC now investigating FTX's handling of customer funds. We know the FTX halted withdrawals of fiat currencies as well as crypto. I mean, what kind of protection is there in place right now for those customers who are saying, how do I get my money out?
Not a whole lot. And I will echo John here. I think that this is a disaster, especially for retail customers. And, Chair Gensler of the SEC has said on multiple occasions that he thinks that these platforms need to be regulated like national securities exchanges. He's expressed concerns about how they handle custody. He's expressed concerns about, whether they have protections in place. And if you were setting up a hypothetical to prove him right, you couldn't do better than what has sort of just happened with FTX.
Now, before we get into today's video, get all your coins out of exchanges and store them in cold wallets. As you can see, this year, almost most exchanges have taken a hit, and it's all because of the inefficiency of the SEC. We all know that the SEC has been proactive in the crypto world, but it just so happens that they've been going against the wrong companies. Exchanges such as FTX worked hand in hand with the government and the SEC, and yet they were laundering so much money behind closed doors. And yes, this is a complete disaster in the crypto world. But really, is the crypto world the Wild West, or are enforcers using this story to push their agenda? Either way, let's roll that intro so we can discuss this deeper. As always, welcome to Moneyside, your favorite crypto channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you get updates when we drop new videos. Don't forget to smash that like button, and you can always leave a comment or a question in the section below. So from what's currently happening in the market, all the way from Terra Luna to now BlockFi, expect regulations to be set in place sooner rather than later. That's because most high-profile individuals have found the perfect opportunity to echo their ideas on why they think the crypto world is a scam. And yes, they will be coming for the whole crypto network, starting with the exchanges. I hate to say this, but to some degree, I do think exchanges should be regulated and inspected, but not in the same way that politicians and other high-profile individuals are talking about. For a while now, some exchanges have gotten away with manipulation of the law, and that has placed their users in danger. The same thing happened to FTX and BlockFi. I think it's high time exchanges should publicize their books so that we can discern it for ourselves instead of trusting the CEOs that they know what they're doing. Unfortunately, since we really don't have clear laws, to make this a mandatory thing, some people get away with outright fraud and misappropriation of funds. Think of it this way. If CZ didn't enforce the truth out of FTX, most people would probably still have their cryptos lingering in the FTX exchange, oblivious to the fact that SBF had transferred their money to Alameda.
I agree with everything you said there. Look, crypto has never just been sunshine and roses. I think crypto as an industry needs to mature. You and I have spoken a number of times, and I think Ripple has always tried to be very corporate focused, very much. And frankly, even though we are a private company and not regulated in certain ways as a public company, we're extremely transparent. Starting 5 years ago, we started publishing quarterly reports around everything we see going on in XRP markets. We publish how much XRP we sold, how much we own. These aren't things we're required to do. We do it because transparency builds trust. And if we want the industry to not not go through some of these things, we need to continue.
So work with Gary rather than against him. Why can't you guys bury the hatchet and find a way forward that you can make it a regulated product? This is Gary Gensler I'm talking about, the CFTC.
Well, look, the United States, interestingly, is the only country on the planet that thinks that XRP is a security. We operate we're actually growing leaps and bounds outside the United States. 95% of our customers are non-US. Just this week, we announced our key kind of product using XRP. It is now live into Africa. So we continue to grow. The dynamic in the United States, I think, is really the SEC not following what the law says and trying to grab power, because the Securities and Exchange Commission can only regulate securities. If these aren't securities, then they can't regulate that.
Ripple has always been transparent. They publish their reports, and that's the right step towards transparency. If you don't see this as the crypto company that's about to change the future, then you are living under a rock. Here is your chance to invest in XRP when everyone is afraid of the crypto market. And when they finally get the confidence to get back, this crypto will have already taken off to the next level. I bet we could be witnessing a 2-digit figure before the end of this year. What do you think? As always, do your own research and always trade safely, guys. Please keep in mind we're not a licensed financial advisor. All videos on this channel are intended for entertainment purposes only. You can let us know always what you think in the comment section below. Let's start a conversation. Thank you so much for watching. Couldn't be here without you. Don't forget to like this video and please click on that subscribe button below. And be sure to turn on notifications. That way you get informed whenever we post our amazing content. Thanks again. We'll see you on the next Money Side.